We are live today on the Instant Celebrity Maker podcast with David Doerrier. David, say hello.
Hello. It's good to be here. Thank you, Mitch.
Well, like I had mentioned before we went live here, it's an absolute pleasure to have somebody in the same line of work, because usually I'm interviewing scientists or entrepreneurs and somebody that is in my world of presentation and speaking. I'm going to be all ears because you are in the same arena, and I always take away something valuable from a fellow speaker, trainer, coach. Now, one of the things that you had mentioned, and I want to focus on that so as to highlight you properly, you say you follow a certain methodology. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you, Mitch. Yes, the methodology is the adult learning theory. I use that as the foundation. Now, to give you a little bit of background on where this is coming from, my background started in training and development. In the military in the mid-90s, I was invited to be a trainer for Air Force reservists that were coming into our career field. This is where I started to learn the magical process of how to train people and make your message stick. The instructional design theories, as well as adult learning theories. How do you make your message stick? Because as a trainer, my job is to pass along information where now that learner needs to be able to go back to their desk and apply that new information immediately, and throwing that information and seeing if it sticks. It's not going to stick. They're not going to remember it. So I had to develop processes, and along the way, I found the adult learning theory.
Great. Well, that sounds quite interesting, and I'd love to learn more. And at the end of the interview, obviously, we'll tie people to your website where they can learn more about it.
Sure.
So how would your friends describe you?
How would my friends describe me? Well, with the beard, Santa-like. I would say creative, thinking outside the box. I've got quite a interesting background. Radio broadcasting is part of my background. Theater, military. I'm also retired from the military. So I would say that having a kind of a worldly view, I would say, and being very creative and thinking outside the box.
Okay. And by the way, thank you for your service, sir. I come from a military family, so I do appreciate and acknowledge your service.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. What is your greatest accomplishment?
Greatest accomplishment would be, I would say it's that's a great question. I really enjoy that. I would say now being the president of my Toastmasters club. This has been something I've been a part of Toastmasters on and off for 30 years. Wow. One of the things that I've done really well is avoiding being one of the officers. I give a lot of speeches. I love table topics. I love all the things that are part of Toastmasters, but I've always had this fear of committing to stuff. And finally, when I worked through that barrier and just recently became the president of my Toastmasters club, Swanee Power Hour here in Georgia, that has been a big accomplishment for me.
Okay. Well, I can understand why. And you do have a great voice. Being a former radio personality myself, I can recognize it. Yeah. I can't see it, but I hear it. Yeah.
Thank you.
What do you wish you had known when you started out in this particular field? Turning the clock back.
Turning the clock back to starting this business, I would say, is learning how to close deals, how to feel comfortable selling. I feel that I have a great message. I feel that I can help a lot of people with presentation skills. Again, the focus of connecting to the audience. And I feel that what I do complements what you do, but I think it's that closing the sale. That still is something that's a little uncomfortable for me.
Well, I'm going to make a comment, and there are several types of speakers that I've learned, and I've been on the platform for 37 years. We have the MCs, we have the trainers, we have the keynote speakers, and we have the closers, the selling speakers. And like I said in the beginning, I was a home shopping network pitchman, and that was a little bit different type of selling. That was to a live audience in front of a camera. but most of my career, it's been about selling and training. What you do is a completely different methodology. And I think it's worthy of explanation to the audience of all these distinctions, because they think, oh, he's just a great speaker. Well, it depends, because we really are specialized, and the art of a keynote is different than. Are you primarily a trainer? Is that what you say your specialty is how to connect?
My specialty, I would say, is training trainers to train, or training subject matter experts to be facilitators or trainers or workshop leaders.
Then I have a great referral source then for the future. That's good. And we can talk a little bit about some of the closing techniques I've used in the past that have been fairly successful for me. So, okay, well, that's interesting. All right. Looking forward, what are you curious about right now?
Right now, I'm curious who's watching this, who's enjoying this, who's getting something out of this, and what they're getting out of this, and what they're thinking about looking at me. That as a speaker, the nonverbals say much more than the actual words themselves. So those kind of things are things I'm thinking about now.
All right. Well, let me dig a little deeper. In terms of your career prior to this call or this podcast, what were you thinking about? What is on the interest list of you right now?
Of taking my career to the next level. Of now that I know I have a message, I need to find the right stepping stones that are going to get me in front of the right people who are my audience. And
so media exposure would be great for you.
Media exposure. I feel I got a great message. Everybody tells me I got a great voice. I've got the face for radio, so I'm ready to go.
I'm right there with you, buddy. Right there with you. Okay. And this one, if you wouldn't mind showing your warts, what's something you failed at?
Well, I burnt my wife's toast this morning.
Okay. That's not good. You know, that got a stern look, I'm sure.
Something I failed at, something that I've been thinking about recently. I said I was in radio. I got fired from a radio job because I wasn't listening to the program director. I thought I knew it all already. This is going back more than that, probably 30 years ago. And the reason I bring this up, I was recently going through a lot of old air checks. I recently have set up a process where I can take the old cassettes and then transfer that into digital. And so I've been back in listening to stuff. I even have my very first tape. So I would say really regretting losing that job, really regretting some of the depression that I was in right after that, kicking myself in the butt because I didn't listen. I knew it all already, and I knew nothing. Well,
I'll say this is a non-religious statement. We were created by whomever or whatever with 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I think we learn through maturity that we have to listen more than we talk. Mm-hmm. Especially hard for us speakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. This is my favorite question of the day. Mm-hmm. Always is. And I use this socially, not just when I interview people. If you could have coffee or tea, depending, let's say a beverage with a historical figure, who would you choose?
Yeah. Every time I'm asked this question or I hear someone being asked this question, the first thing that pops into my mind is John Lennon.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, there's a lot. You know, one of the things that stands out the most is that first time I heard that he had been assassinated, and those feelings every time I think of him, or not every time I think of him, but certainly there are many times that I have thought of him, that those same emotions, that shock just comes in, that creativity that he had, that there was just something of the aura. You know, I don't know any of these Beatles more so than anybody else who grew up listening to them and seeing them on the Ed Sullivan Show and what have you. But there's just something about every time I saw him in the movies and listening to him and interviews and so on and so forth. That's a guy I'd love to spend some time with.
Well, I haven't heard that one, but okay, makes a lot of sense. And who has been your most important professional mentor?
I would say it was a manager of mine who I'm still in contact with, a young lady, Kim Gallagher. She hired me to work at a Fortune 15 company in their training department.
Wow.
And she just allowed me, one of the things she said to me was during our initial interview that sticks to me today. She says, I don't know everything. I hire the people that are experts in their areas and I let them do their thing. Where in the past, in military, certainly kind of restrictive, that creative side sometimes can't come out because you've got to do things a certain way. There's other bosses that I worked with outside the military that were very controlling, but this young lady, she let me blossom. Go ahead and try it. All right, you failed. Let's look at how we can fix that. What can we do to give you the training that you need to help you work through whatever that barrier happens to be? And she's still in my life to this day.
Well, that's a slight segue. You remember Henry Ford was put on trial for incompetence, and he responded to the prosecutor with, I can press any button on my desk to find the expertise I need. So she, it's very similar. It's not an exact analogy, but you understand, yes, you can, she hired you for your expertise, hired other people, and that's great. That's the best type of manager to work for. All right. So if you could go back to your 18-year-old David, what advice would you give him?
Well, the 18-year-old David was getting ready to go into the Air Force and start a 28-year career. And that 18-year-old David had a lot of baggage from family and friends and so on, and had a lot of insecurities, a lot of things in his head saying, you're not good, you're not good, you're not good, you're not good. And a lot of that stuff still working through to this day. And I would say to that 18-year-old kid, you're creative. You're good looking. You're a great Santa Claus. You're going to end up in radio broadcasting, something you've been dreaming about ever since you held a transistor radio in your hand. And you're going to follow that dream. You're going to have an opportunity to follow that. And it's going to lead you into places that you never thought. You're going to end up on stage as an actor. You're going to end up being a trainer and being a respected trainer. So love yourself, David, and enjoy the ride. Okay.
Well, that's good. So now what I like about you is you've obviously had a full career. I mean, 28 years in the military, and then post-military, you've had a career. What is your next goal? What is your plan to achieve your next set of goals? Because I'm sure you're looking forward versus looking backward.
Well, my next goal is to continue to grow my business, my brand, understand who I am, who my audience is, how best to approach my audience, sell to my audience. That's my next step.
And if you don't achieve that, what will that feel like?
I will achieve it. I keep moving forward. Sometimes it might be baby steps. But it might be one step back, but there's going to be two steps there. I keep working at it.
I love that answer. I love that answer, because the usual answer is, oh, I'll feel bad, or I'll have to call my therapist, or I'll just march through or something. But you just answered it perfectly, set that up. So that's great. So when you have a challenge life throws at you, how do you overcome it?
I do a lot. I'm a thinker. If you're familiar with, there's a personality assessment called DISC, D-I-S-C.
Very familiar with it.
And C is I'm a very high C, very introspective thinker, overthinker, over analyzer. So I'll sit down, and if I have to work through something, I have my wife. I can definitely bounce stuff off of my wife, but I start writing it out. I start looking at the pros, the cons, everything else. I start thinking about it. I get deep. I do research. I love Google. What did we do before Google? I have to go to the library or something. I just start Googling, and research.
Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, exactly.
You remember that was the biggie, right? Encyclopedia Britannica. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, And what's one question you want people to know about you that I could have asked you that you wish I would have asked?
What do I love about being Santa Claus? I've been a Santa Claus for 30 years. I've got tons of stories of being Santa, and Santa has helped me in my life as well, to be a part of so many people's Christmas. Christmas in my home when I was a kid was the one day where all the noise, where all the stuff that was going on stopped for that half a day. And that is a part of me today, putting on that Santa suit, being a part of people, being in their homes, being in 1,000 different photo albums, of just being able to express my love of Santa and what he's brought into my life.
Well, that shows that you're a full-hearted man. Have you written a book?
I've written an ebook, and I've got a lot of other information for more books, but I do have an ebook.
But if you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about? I'm talking about a full, let's say 50,000 words or something smaller to communicate your message to the marketplace.
The adult learning theory is part of it, but it would be a book on teaching people how to train others, or the same principles that trainers use, a manager can use running a meeting, a salesperson can use to connect to their prospect. So it would be a book on how to connect to your audience and how to make your message stick.
Okay. And how can I support you? How can we support you and my team? What's the best way to leverage you?
Well, the best way to leverage me would be let's continue our conversation to see if there's any other networking groups that you can introduce me to, and any friends that you might have. And I'll also do the same research on my end to see what I can do to help you. I
can definitely refer you, because uniqueness sells. And in my years, like I said, I've been on the platform 37 years. Never heard of the adult learning method. And you could, the ALM, you can call it the ALM technique. And the acronyms intrigue people.
Yeah.
Whether it's a new technology or not, it can be positioned as such.
Right.
This is interesting, and we can have a follow-up conversation about, because I do believe I can support you and refer you to other people, other podcasts, in order to get you out into the market. So this is where Present Your Way to Success is your URL. Is that right? Yes. Your domain?
That's correct.
And is that the best way to get in touch with you? Do you want to drop an email, or should they go there first?
They can go there first, or they can go to david@presentyourwaytosuccess.com.
Okay. And I noticed also on your LinkedIn, you had an abbreviated URL.
I do have
want to share that?
I have to look at the letters.
PYWTsuccess.com.
Yeah. PYWTsuccess.com. David at PYWTsuccess.com. Or you can use, what's that?
They both work. Is that correct?
They all work. And the URL as well as PYWTsuccess.com. That URL works as well. I felt it was so long on a business card, I had to also shorten it.
Smart. It's to have both. That's good.
Yeah. Yes.
So what would you say about your guest experience?
Oh, this has been fabulous. We've had a fabulous time today. You've given me plenty of time to think and to express my ideas and to make a fool of myself, and we've got each other to laugh. So I've had a wonderful time today.
All right. And David, what would you say is your final word?
My final word is thank you for this opportunity.
Well, I would say thank you for being part of the Instant Celebrity Maker program, and I look forward to referring business to you in the near future. So then we will continue our dialogue and comments for each other, and we'll look forward to working together very soon.
Great.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mitch. Have a nice day.